Good morning, world. How are you? It is Tuesday, the 7th of April, 2020. And we are here together to share in this moment of a little bit of craziness, right? A little bit of some things going on that might be a little unsettling. We're here because we're setting aside some time to stand firm while our world is shaking. There's a lot going on in the world and a lot going on in our homes, and it's a little bit after 10 o'clock on Tuesday, and my goal is to always come to you weekly at around 10 o'clock, and here we are a little behind. So if you're feeling a little behind this morning or at another time in your day or week, know that it's probably okay and it's probably just par for the course in these times that are just very different, and we're practicing kind of rolling with the punches, aren't we? So good morning and welcome to week 3 of the live streaming calls that I've been doing. I hope that you are watching me and wherever you are. If you are watching me from my main Facebook page, which is, you can get there by going to this short link, bit.ly/life coach Alicia Marie, and the capitals are important, so use the letters the way they're on the screen. If you go there, click hello. Well, give a like, put a heart. Leave a comment. I can actually use the StreamYard platform that I'm using to pull in comments and share them on the screen. So we can actually have a two-way conversation and be a part of this. So again, welcome. Welcome to this special time that we've set aside in the middle of our day, or perhaps this evening. And if you're watching on replay, go ahead and hit hashtag replay and in a comment, and I'll be sure to follow up with you. So as part of my own advice, I like to practice making sure that I go to my own Facebook page and share it. So wherever you are right now, go ahead and share. Hit watch party on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, where I do archive things later, if you're wanting to share that link later, that's this link. Excuse me. So we're just kind of getting set up and gathering, because it's very important that we have a two-way conversation. I think I do have some ideas and some stories to share with what's going on in my life and insights. And I also want to make sure that you are using this time to help yourself and those around you and those in your life. Even if we're socially distancing, we're still connected. So let's share with one another the stories and the adventures of our lives so we can be better together. There's lots of people saying things like that, but I firmly and wholeheartedly believe it. So go over wherever you're at and be sure to share this, tag someone, leave a comment, let someone else know that they should be watching these and that they can be a part of this. You can be a part together. So I'm going to follow what I preach and do it myself. And so there we go. And if you have any groups that you're a part of, feel free to share this again. And we are being somewhat flexible with ourselves because, of course, things are always changing and in flow. So again, I aim to come to you live 10 a.m. Eastern time or thereabouts within a few minutes every Tuesday as a way to just provide some love, first and foremost, some expertise, some help, and some hope, because I think so many people are struggling, and so many people would love to find a brave thinking way forward to move past just what's happening and into preparing for what will come next. Because whether we like it or not, we are in a period of what I saw someone call, it was a great term for it, um, forced transformation or a forced transition, right? We didn't ask for this to happen. We didn't ask to be home with our kids all day long, maybe, although maybe some of us, that was our dream. We didn't ask to suddenly have to be juggling everything and worried about the health situation. In Michigan, where I am located at right now, there are well over 15,000 cases of COVID-19 at this moment, and we've had upwards of between 400 and 500 deaths already. And all the experts are predicting that these are still early days. I have friends in New York City, and of course, the numbers there are increasingly dire as well. I know that as a country, we are well over the 100,000 mark of cases, and the predictions that this week is going to be one of the most crucial weeks for us to be doing that which each of us can do. Each of us can be a hero in helping. So in the middle of these tough times, it's even more important that we come together. And I think people are doing that in so many miraculous ways. There's stories, I hear about it all the time through the internet, through phone calls, through messages people are sending, that people are just bursting forward with as much kindness and compassion as they can, and generosity. The spirit of generosity is flowing among our fellow humans. So I see these as optimistic things. And wouldn't it be great if it doesn't require a crisis to bring us together in such a way? Wouldn't it be great if we actually just evolved and became more like-minded on this as a whole going forward? Wouldn't it be great if this becomes our new normal for what it means to be human? I think there's been a long-standing history and effort and philosophy and religion in the science of psychology to improve our minds, to improve our hearts, to improve our spirits. And it has to show through action. So I would like to think and invite you into thinking with me, how can these times in front of me be used today, right now, to be used for not only my own betterment, but the betterment of those around me and perhaps the humankind as a whole. I don't think it's too lofty of an aspiration to think that way and to know that we are part of something bigger that we may not always see all the pieces and parts moving, and just know that we are a thread in a beautifully woven tapestry. The question is, what kind of picture do we want to weave together? Let's do it by design and not by default, right? Let's do it by design and not by default, which is why I am doing these weekly conversations, because together we must stand firm for the dream, stand firm for the ideal, stand firm for the people we can be and we are becoming. Stand firm even while our world is shaking all around us. Now, normally, standing firm is an actually designed course for 4 weeks to walk people through a process of understanding the dark night of the soul and your hero's journey and coming out with a reframed, more empowered story. I believe we're going to need more than 4 weeks for the current circumstances. But that doesn't mean you can't use that idea of walking through any past hurts or past difficulties, past challenges, past things that have seemed to be in your way and keeping you held back. Perhaps it was a betrayal. Perhaps it was a job loss years ago, and now you find yourself just where everyone is now. But for the longest time, you maybe were struggling when others seem to be getting ahead. And now is the time to heal the past so that we can be clean and ready to move forward, have the energy to move forward. So we're not holding on to things from the past. Maybe it was a relationship that didn't work out. Maybe it was the loss of someone special to you, a parent, a friend, a colleague, a child. These are hurts and wounds that can just devastate us and keep us from dreaming into the next evolution of our own life. And when we do that, we get stuck when we stop dreaming. So standing firm when your world is shaking is a process that I believe we all need. And it's just a process that we're going to take a little longer with for these current times. And while I'm stretching out the content, I'm adding the things that I have experienced, the things that I know, and some new, brand new content and teaching that I have actually developed. So I'm very, very grateful to my mentor, Mary Morrissey, who certified me as a life mastery consultant. I have a science degree in environmental science and chemistry, as well as I have a journalism master's from Columbia University. Very proud of my work in the parenting and science and business reporting that I've done, and even won awards. And I am proud to now call myself, in the last several years, a certified life and business coach. So thank you for my mentor, Mary Morrissey, who created the original Standing Firm When Your World is Shaking program. And now I feel very privileged to be able to use that title as a launching off point for these conversations. So now that you are here and I'm here, please leave a comment and let me know what it is that you are finding in your world today that you would love some help with, that you have some questions about, that you are just curious, what could I be doing better? And as we do that, let's take a deep breath of life, because again, I'm reminded how often this particular situation with COVID-19 makes it really hard for people to breathe. And simultaneously, we are given this gift of breath in order to actually live. And not one of us can wake ourselves up in the morning. Not one of us can make our heart beat. It is life flowing through us, seeking to express, seeking to be more, to grow, to be fuller, freer, more expansive through you, and in me. And we take a breath. It also recenters our nervous system and gets us grounded. So I love to begin that way as we dive in to this next step of our conversation together. Let's take a breath. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And we'll do it one more time for 3. And just let go of any anxiety, stress, worry, fear, doubt that has perhaps been with you. Take a breath. And just let it go. And find yourself here in this moment now. One more breath. And welcome. Welcome once again. This week, we talked about why it was so important to breathe and how breathing in such a manner actually improves our ability to focus, our ability to concentrate, our ability to relax into the moment enough that we can be creative enough to be a solution maker, not just focusing on the problem. And it enables us to get through our day, whether we are having fear or frustration. It allows us to get through the day in a way that we're able to really, truly bring our gifts and be our best self. None of us are perfect, so please forgive yourself, as we talked about last week. We talked about the idea that failure, when things all go wrong, and frustration and fear are transmuted when we bring forgiveness and an element of fun to our day. So I hope you have been practicing that in the week since we have last gotten together. And if you have any insights or some things that happened because of it, hopefully good things, please put them in the comments. And again, I'll be able to share with the group, whoever's watching now or later, what you've said, because I can put it on the comment on the screen. And again, if you're not watching me on my main Facebook page, I will not be able to see your comments. So make sure you hop on over to the Alicia Marie Belshak speaker, writer, and author and life coach page, because that's where you'll be able to leave a comment for me. So this is a great opportunity for us to sink into asking some questions. What have you been doing? We've also talked about the idea of using failure as a stepping stone and failing faster, failing forward in order to actually make progress towards some new endeavor that we may not have otherwise thought about doing, but now here we are doing it. So when things go wrong and we're having frustration, we can use it as a way to move forward faster if we just do it more. Just do it more. And we talked about noticing what we're noticing so that we can be ready to navigate off and on how things are helping, hurting, indifferent. Is there a way for me to improve? Is there a way for me to change? There's something I have to pivot here in the moment. We are doing a lot of that every day. And we talked about this idea that whatever you are doing, wherever you are, even when things seem to be going wrong, you can do something towards a goal, ambition, a dream, a vision. It's important to have one. Where are we going? And do what we can with what we have right where we are right now. Right now, there's something that we can do. So that's a little recap from last week. And I would love to hear from you what it looked like for you this week as you were navigating your circumstances. What was going on for you that was helpful? What aha moments did you have? And in the meantime, this week, we are already moving quicker than we can even imagine towards whatever the next thing in our evolution will be. So, you are stronger than any condition. There is this concept of the dark night of the soul. You could argue that we're kind of going through one. Some of us, however, feel very enlivened by what's going on. And I don't want you to feel badly if that is you, because what's happening in your life, in your present moment, is exactly what's needed for you to grow and to become that which life is expressing and desiring you to become. So again, I'll just put up here this idea that the content of our lives is the curriculum of our evolution. So how can you use the content of life right now in the way that life is showing up for you? Is there something in particular that is asking you to grow and you've maybe been resisting it a little bit? If so, that's okay. because I want to talk to you about something that was profoundly and deeply moving and transformative to me. And it happened, interestingly enough, before the COVID-19 world kind of changed. So if you're just joining me, just know that we are doing this around 10 o'clock every day, every week, standing firm when your world is shaking. So what is this thing that I'm talking about? I just wanted to say hello to those of you who are joining and to share with you some of the things people are saying. So I just noticed that Jackie has posted in Facebook on my Facebook page that she is grateful. I'm grateful, she says, that I had a routine in place for myself, which is helping me to know, to grow, perhaps, to know, which is so helping me to know. So knowing a routine, yes, that's a great one. So what have you practiced this week that has helped you? Remembering the concept that we can fail faster and fail forward into something. So having a routine has been incredibly helpful for Jackie. Now, okay, now she says. Thank you for the clarification, Jackie. So have you had a routine to help you now? And you know what? I love this, even though it's an accident, because this is exactly what we all have to be doing now. Whatever it is now, we make a typo in life, we can make the revision and keep moving this because it's all happening now. So thanks for sharing that, Jackie. So glad to have you here with me and everyone that's going on. So again, I wanted to share with you the concept of trust today. So I've actually made an acronym out of this. So we're going to go through each of these letters in a minute, but I wanted to share this idea of trust. So why am I bringing up trust? I am bringing up trust because I think it is something that the time we live in now is exquisitely asking us to learn to do. And I love that Jackie's on board with the humor because we're transmuting failure and frustration and fear with fun. So good job. So trust. Back at the end of January, I had something happen in my own personal experience that really called into question my willingness. I don't want to say ability, but my willingness to trust at an even greater level. I had some financial conditions that I had been struggling with for a little bit of time and navigating for a few years actually now. And I know that there are lots and lots of people right now who are hurting out there. If you're one of those people, know that it's going to be okay. This is why I bring up trust, because in the middle of the circumstance, in the middle of the financial difficulty, it can feel really scary. It can feel really uncertain, frustrating, and it's very anxiety producing. Like, am I going to make it from 1 month to the next, from 1 week to the next? Where am I going to get the money to put the food on the table? Where am I going to get the money to pay the electric bill, to pay the internet bill so I can even come to you live? And so just this year alone, my husband has had 2 different unemployments. And by this year, I mean the last rolling 12 months. And that was on the heels of several other financial hardships, house repairs that we didn't plan on, car repairs, years of this cycle of work, no work, and just depleting our resources financially little by little. And yet we always made it. And yet we always made it. We always made the mortgage. Haven't missed one yet. We always found a way to put food on the table. And let me tell you what, we can be extremely resourceful when we want to be. You can be extremely resourceful even now when it feels like everything's constraining and, and coming in around us. Just know that that is only in our mind, even though there's facts around that. There are many, many resources opening up, and there are many, many opportunities opening up if you're willing to find them, if you're willing to look for them, if you're willing to trust. Trust yourself. Trust the process. Not only the process of whatever COVID-19 is doing and whatever the economy is doing, but trust the process of spirit, of life, of those of us who believe in a higher power. Trust your higher power. Trust at the bare minimum that you are a piece of a bigger picture, that tapestry I talked about, that you can't possibly see all of the threads and how they're interconnected, and yet your story and your participation, actively engaged, is part of that picture. So there I was, after what felt like decline after decline after decline financially. And I was presented with a tough customer situation. And it was very confronting. And yet I know in my heart of hearts that I served well and that I did the very best that I could. So I can embrace that with some positivity and some pride even. Another way to handle fear. Another way to handle that failure we talked about and started talking about last week. So relaxing into knowing that I did the very best. But in the meantime, the money I had been counting on for my monthly bills, while my husband we were still catching up. If there's such a thing, I'd like to throw that term right out pretty soon. Can we really catch up, or is it just what's happening right now? So there I was, not having the money I needed to count on again. Within a week, my husband lost his job. So we both were there in that place where we didn't know where the next new pay to be coming from. And this was only at the end of January and the beginning of February this year, 2020, a year that I had started out with great vision and great hope after a really, really tough 2019, which I'm not going to go into right now. But just know there are so many people right now who have not had to deal with a job loss, maybe ever, and certainly not recently. There are many, many people who are looking at businesses shutting down. There are many people who've been laid off from their hourly work because of the quarantine. And there are so many of us who are finding ourselves doing work more at home when we were not ready. We weren't prepared, and juggling the transition with kids. And it can feel like, oh my gosh, how can I get all my work done? Maybe I'll, that fear of like, will I make it? Will I get it done? Will I have enough? Will I have enough? So there I was at the end of January, and it was like this leading wave so that it's almost exquisitely designed so that I could like share a story with you today about trust, because what I had to do repeatedly, but this time was at such a higher level. I had been here before. I knew the steps, I knew the process, and I knew it was going to be okay. I knew there were going to be some tough weeks, and I knew we knew how to navigate them. So it's an interesting realization to come to when you realize you actually have the resources, at least in the mental and emotional stamina, the spiritual stamina, to be able to navigate really, really tough stuff. And that if you've done that, been there before, you can do it again. And you can be better at it. And you can be calm, centered, loving more often than you were when you're just consumed by the fear and the panic and the anxiety. So I was being called into a higher level of trust. It was something that I had been actually thinking about, and Not just trusting myself, not just trusting it was going to be okay, but really, truly trusting that there was more here than I could see, more here than I knew how to navigate on my own, and to let go. This is very important. Let go of thinking I had to figure it all out, and that I had to solve the problem, and that I had to be the one to take all the steps and figure out all the actions and blah, blah, blah. I let go. And I did only which I had in front of me anyway. So here's your acronym, because here's what happened. Within a couple of weeks, I'll get to the acronym. In a couple of weeks of time, my husband had 3 job offers pretty much lined up pretty much in different phases. And he took a job that was slated to start on March 10th. So we had to navigate from February 10th or 8th to March 10th with no income. And I knew that we had depleted a lot of our savings, so we didn't have money to pull from easily. And I knew that I had some money coming to me through the work that the client I did still have. So what now and what next were the questions that was top of mind when all of this was happening for me. What now and what next? So I ask you these questions today. You know what you've experienced in the last 3 weeks. You know what's ahead of you in terms of what you would like to get done or the things that are coming your way. What now and what next? It doesn't have to be the same as what you've done in the past. What do you mean, Alicia Marie? It doesn't have to be the same. We are by definition not doing the same. But let's say these were like ordinary times. Even in regular times, whatever the new normal, new regular becomes after all of this, know that you don't have to do things the same way. You can actually do things in a different way. So I let go. I knew we'd been here before. I knew it wasn't ideal. I could have been really mad. I could have been really sad. I could have been really frustrated. I let myself grieve for the time that I needed to grieve. But pretty much I went on with my day and said, pause. So he lost his job. So I lost my client last week. I don't know how we're going to make our bills, but that's okay. It's a fact. I can't do anything about the facts. All I can do is adjust my response and keep moving. So I spent the month of February in what I call almost like a retreat form. I mean, I still did things. I did a lot of things. But I stopped doing it from a push place. I did it from a trusting place. Trusting that I knew I had a vision, that I had a deep desire, that I had steps in front of me to take, that we had been here before. We have been experts in the struggle. I'm going to use that with quotes. Because our words matter, right? And we started to dream, my husband and I, about what could be good here. What possible, so this is one of your new questions for the week. What possible good is here or could be become because of this? Whatever the this is. All right. It takes me a little while to type as I go. What possible good is here for me or could come because of this situation, circumstance? What if I actually were to trust that this is part of my evolution? What would I do then? What would I feel then? What would I think then? Can I let go and just be part of the process? What possible good is here in these circumstances, in whatever you're dealing with? Now, let's remember to breathe, center ourselves, It's a heck of a lot easier to think about good in the middle of, quote, bad when we're centered, when we find the calm, creative eye of the storm. So that reminds me, I always like to mention this. There is a lot that I talk about. I call it taming the chaos. That's like the job, number one job all of us have right now is taming the chaos and being the eye of the storm. So let's do that. And then we can look for the good because that's part of the process of taming the chaos. So Jackie, who's here live with us, is saying, yes, staying in a beautiful state is where optimism is, curiosity, and hope. And here's the thing. We can move up and down the ladder of awareness so very easily. It's okay to have emotions that are, quote, negative. It really is. And it's okay to not feel hope and optimism in a particular moment. The information that is embedded in that emotional feedback is so very, very valuable. And we can't do a spiritual bypass. So let's not do that. Let's not do that to ourselves. We're here to express and feel the whole range of human emotions. And when I'm done being frustrated, when I'm done being fearful, and I'm ready to move forward, take a breath. I may not feel completely in a beautiful state, but I will be moving in from fear, from flight, freeze, fight or flight, into rest and digest in our sympathetic nervous system. It's very important that we do that because that is where we're able to be curious. That's where we'll be able to think differently and actually be able to ask questions. So one basic question we can ask is, what possible good is here for me? And what good could come because of this? And we move into this idea of trust. Trust that there is good to be found if I just stay open to it, and trust that I will find the answers to the problems that I'm seeking. And the more highly calibrated the questions I can ask, the better the answers will be. Because as Einstein once said, if you give me a life or death, and when we're faced with fear over finances, it does lead to life or death thoughts, right? Life or death. Like, will I be able to put food on the table? Will I lose my home? Will I not have shelter? We have these thoughts. But the truth is, none of it's happening this moment. None of it's happening now. It's just us thinking about what could happen and taking us down a particular thought train. Oh, I love that we have some interaction today. So, yes, the good stuff is, Jackie is sharing, is where the place to get back to is the beautiful state, I think is what she's saying, which we had just said. Staying in a beautiful state is where optimism, curiosity, hope, and the good stuff, that's the place to get back to. So we can have the good stuff all around us and even forget that it's there. I posted earlier this week something in my Facebook, and I shared with a few people by text message this idea. It was a picture of yellow crocuses from my own garden, because spring is happening, it's blooming. And it said, look for the good. It's blooming all around us. It's there if we're ready and willing to look for it. So what happened? My husband and I looked for the good, and you can look for the good. And he started, I'm going to take a drink of coffee here because it is coffee time. My husband started his new job at an Amazon warehouse March 10th. And on my birthday, March 13th, is when the schools here in Michigan shut down. And I think March 10th is when we had our very first coronavirus case in the Detroit area. That's how quickly things moved, and that's how quickly we have to move to go with it. And so in the middle of all of this worry and constraint and doubt, and so many people, within a few days, the bars were shut down and the restaurants and on and on and on, the story goes. We have been in an interesting situation with a huge amount of gratitude, because not only did my husband get a job, but he is considered an essential worker. So even now, he continues to go to work for 4 days. He works 10-hour shifts. Let me tell you what, those guys and gals in the Amazon warehouses, they work hard. They are on their feet for 10, 11 hours if you count coming and going every day. And he even got a chance to take some overtime work. And they have been treating, as a company, their employees really, really well during this whole COVID situation. So I want to just give a little shout out and kudos with my own gratitude. I will do more talking about gratitude because gratitude is the place that we can generate a state of positivity. We're talking about beautiful states and generating a state of being. And first, with our breath, we can breathe in gratitude and we can breathe out the fear. So let's do that real quick while we're here together. Just let go of the fear, the tension, the doubt, the worry. Breathe in the gratitude, the blessings, the gift of this one day, this one life. I'm incredibly grateful. My husband works really, really hard. And don't get me wrong, I'm working really, really hard here in the house, managing the kids and everything else. And I've had to take some slack off of his plate because I want him to be fully rested when he's working so physically hard to bring in money. And Amazon has done a marvelous job thanking their employees for continuing to show up in the middle of the crisis, because even more than ever, we are counting on people like Matt and like others, like our healthcare workers, like our grocery store clerks. Thank you, stockers. Thank you, truck drivers. Thank you to all the people doing the hard work behind the scenes so that some of life can continue as normal. So gratitude shifts us into a place of abundance. It shifts us into a place of more creativity, right? A more positive state, that beautiful state that Jackie was talking about. So I know that it's getting to be near 11 o'clock, but I do want to finish. We did start a little behind the 10 o'clock hour. Again, around 10 o'clock, I'll be coming to you, depending on what technical and family challenges we're having. So thank you for letting me be with you today. And let me share with you a concept I want you to take with you for the rest of the week, this idea of trust. And I have an acronym for you to help you. So the first letter is T. And T is going to stand for telling ourselves or yourself. Let me type it in as I go. Oh, see, alarms are ringing. Life is busy and full wherever we are. Let me turn that off a second. So trusting that all is well in the moment is part of the process. And we do that by telling ourselves the truth. T, the first T. Oops, if I can type correctly today. The first T, tell yourself the truth. Telling your truth. I like that. Came out even more. Let's try that again. Tell yourself the truth. So first of all, you have a truth. There is a truth about you. The truth is you cannot breathe without a power breathing you. How's that feel? I'm so grateful that my lungs are working and that I'm healthy and that my family is helpful. They're actually being quiet while I'm talking to you. And tell yourself the truth. I'm going to edit that real quick here. Because tell means that you realize that you are not in control of everything. The truth is, there's more going on here. Is the fear, the constraint, the financial difficulty. Okay, let me go back to my story. It was hard that week, that first week, especially because it happened the week that mortgage was due and all this other stuff, and there wasn't money in the bank account to cover it. Luckily, our line of credit covered it. Luckily, I made a couple transfers. They didn't come quite in time, but they came close enough in time. And financially, now people can do smart things, which I would encourage you to do. I'm not a financial planner. However, I called I work with numbers a lot. I called my car company up and I put a couple cars that I'm not driving into storage, and it saved me $80 a month. And another idea that I've had is to call my mortgage company. And you might be in a situation like this. You can ask for a forbearance, tell them something's going on, and get up to a 90-day moratorium, and get those 3 months of payments added on at the back of your loan. So you still owe them, but it gives us some breathing room. So when we're facing the fear, facing the difficulty, facing the challenge, and we breathe and we tell ourselves the truth. Tell yourself the truth. This is not going to make or break me. This is just a moment in time. This is not the fear. Sometimes the fear or the doubt or the worry isn't even happening yet. It's something we're just worried about. So tell yourself the truth. The truth at a bare minimum is, hey, me and my higher power, we can handle this. There's nothing. I am stronger than anything, right? This is nothing. There's nothing I can't figure out. I love Marie Folio. She's like, everything's figure outable. Everything's figure outable. We can figure this out. So tell yourself the truth. The truth is, in this moment, I have my house. In this moment, I have my internet. In this moment, there are new opportunities. I just may not be able to see them yet. So let's do some research. Let's do something. But tell yourself the truth. The truth is, I'm given this gift of life, and it's seeking to express itself through me, in me, with me, and it's doing that with everyone around me, and it's doing that with the virus. So let's just sink in. This is all about trust, right? So we trust that there's a process at work, that we may not see all the emotions, but we can tell ourselves the truth. The truth is, I am okay here and now. In this moment, I am safe. For some, that may not always be the truth. And that's okay. We can acknowledge that. And if that's true, then we can do something about that. If you're not in a safe place, get somewhere safe. Let's do that first. None of this other stuff will matter until we are safe, right? So tell yourself the truth. At the bare minimum, I am not my story. I am not my history. I'm not even what I think my destiny may be. I am more. 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 And me and my higher power, this gift of life, the spirit breathing in me, we are here for more. So that brings us to the R. We're telling ourselves the truth. We have to move into a place where we release resistance. So in my story, I was sharing this idea that, it could be very confronting when you have a whole bunch of things going wrong at the same time, and especially when it comes to money and relationships, because those two things seem intertwined to our survival state. Money is the same as surviving, and having relationship is the same as feeling like you're belonging in a part of a tribe and feeling safe. It's part of our hardwired as our human nature. So as we sink into telling ourselves the truth and learning to trust in this process, this acronym that I've created, we have to release resistance. Release the thing we're really holding on to. Release it somewhat. And even just saying it, to me, I feel myself relax. We want to release resistance so that we can relax. It's great because there's another R. We want to release the frustration. We want to release the friction. We want to release the tension. Just let it go. Okay, I'm going to start sounding like Elsa, and I have a whole soapbox there because I love I love Frozen and the transformational messages that are embedded in the original, but especially in Frozen 2. Someday we'll talk about that, friends. But releasing the resistance, you got to let it go, because you can only control what you can control in the moment. And if it's not yours to control, if it really is bigger than you, or it's out of your purview, it's out of your range of insight, knowledge, just even physical world in order to deal with it, let it go. You can't control everything, so let it go. I love what Jackie is saying here. It's a pause moment. Tell herself the truth and release resistance. Pause. Push pause. Because that's the only way we're going to be able to interrupt this negative cycle that we would otherwise be in. And trust is an amazing thing. Trusting ourselves, trusting the process, trusting each other. It's going to help. So, what can you do to release resistance today? There's a question for you. What are you in resistance in? Is it fear? Resistance can show up as fear. Resistance can show up as trying to get it all done. The minute you say, I'm trying, you're already excluding the powers, the invisible, unseen powers that are at work. You're trying to do it all by yourself in your tiny self instead of your big, expansive self, right? The connected, spiritual, divine self, which you are a part of. You got a small part and you got a big part. You have your human part and you have your infinite part. So I'm trying to do this thing. I'm trying to get business. I'm trying to get money. I'm trying to figure it out. Yes, it's all figure outable. That's the truth. But I don't have to have all the pieces and the answers and yet, right? We can release resistance. So where's resistance showing up for you? You can answer that in the comment if you wish, or you just ask it for yourself and write it down. Spend some time with yourself and journal that. Where is resistance showing up for you? Where is resistance to the what is, right? Telling ourselves the truth means we acknowledge the facts, but we don't have to let the facts become our story. The facts are COVID's going around. The facts are I may not have the income I need. The facts are there's also help coming. Release resistance to having to do it all by myself and allow myself to rely on unseen powers. So that brings us to the you in trust. And this is kind of an interesting one because it's universal and unseen powers. But the real message I want to send to you is that you are at the center. You are at the center of trust. Only you can decide to take steps to relax, to release resistance, to tell yourself the truth, to notice what you're noticing when you're in resistance, noticing when you're in frustration, noticing when you're keeping yourself away from your own good. Only you can do that. You, in this circumstance, in this day, in this moment, you are at the center of your own experience. And you have the opportunity to create that experience. You're the highest authority on your own experience, on your own life, and what is going to transpire from this moment forward. It's up to you. Now, there are universal and unseen forces also supporting you. The universe desires to and delights in supporting you. And you get to decide, is this a fearful universe, a scary place where I am not supported? And you're going to have a set of thinking and behaviors and actions and everything that comes out of that. Or is this a place, a universe that's friendly, that is always here to help me, even when it looks like it's not helpful, even when it looks like problem, even when it looks like I lost my job and I lost my client and I don't have the income and now everyone's sick and the economy is shutting down. I just want to acknowledge that you are at the center. And speaking of you, Jackie is saying that this is really helpful, really good, and she's going to finish watching on the replay. Thank you for being here live, Jackie, and being a part of the conversation today. We're going to finish up with the last two letters, so it won't be very much longer anyway. And I appreciate everyone, if you've been watching on replay, go ahead and tell me so I know that you've been here and we can follow up with a longer conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, I do have a YouTube channel where I'm going to be archiving things later. And so that's an easy one because it's bit.ly/Life Mastery TV. And go ahead, subscribe, and make sure you like it and share that video with people too, so that you always know what's going on, because you are at the center of your own experience. You have universal and unseen forces at work at all times. It's that background to the tapestry we're talking about. You don't know how your thread is going to weave in with other people's. You don't know. You can't see it. You got to release the resistance. You got to know it's there. Tell yourself the truth that that's happening. It's happening everywhere. And I'm part of it. But you get to decide in this moment right now, what now? What next? Do I push? Do I strive? Do I struggle? Or do I relax? And do I allow? Do I breathe into the moment and just accept that this is here for my highest good? I don't even know how it's good yet, but maybe it's good. What if it is good? What if there's something here for me to learn? What if there's a thing for me to grow and do and become because of this? Because of the crappiness I feel about it, right? Like you can release that too, right? That's resistance showing up. You are at the center of trust. The process works. We often are in our own way because we stopped trusting it, or we didn't develop trust to begin with. It takes a huge amount of faith in the unseen. There are 11 universal principles at work at all times, and they are as reliable and at work for us, whether we agree or disagree, whether we think they exist or whether we don't think they exist. They are at work at all times, just the same way that gravity is at work right now. I don't have to see gravity to know that I'm being held down to this earth. And I don't have to see gravity to know that it takes a rocket ship. It takes extra energy to push against gravity to get off the planet and into outer space and into orbit. You and I get to do that. We get to look around us. There are unseen forces that dictate the way things happen. And there are 11 universal laws. There is a program that I actually work with people in to talk about each of those. We spend a month, whole year, because there's 12 concepts that we talk about, but a month on each one, because these things are reliable, they're repeatable, they are at work in our lives now, whether we trust them or don't. They're doing it. Just as we would go to the power outlet and plug in a lamp, we know there's electricity there if we're wired to code in our house. Now, I live in a house that was built in 1880, so sometimes it's not wired to code, and it kind of works. But a lot of times we have to fix it, right? It's not safe, or there's a problem. We go to the lamp and it doesn't turn on. But it's not the lamp would be the problem. It may actually be the wiring, right? So there's a universal law. I don't have to see electrons flowing to be able to participate and experience the benefits of electricity. It's an unseen force. So you don't have to see it to believe it. You just have to believe it. You are at the center of your own experience. So what kind of experience do you want to create for yourself? Where's the good in it? Okay, so that leads us to S. S is to listen to the still, small voice of intuition, spirit. Thank you for your patience. Okay. So when so here we are. We've Notice what we've noticed. We've taken a breath. We are telling ourselves the truth. We're going into trust process. We are telling ourselves the truth. We're releasing resistance. We're recognizing that you, me, we're at the center of the experience we're having. There are universal and unseen forces at work for my own good. And now I tune in and listen to the still small voice. There is a step you can take. There is something that desires to be a part of you. You can live your life in a way that connects you to your intuition and connects you to spirit. And it's different. Intuition is one of our mental faculties as humans. We often know about our logical reason side, which is also reasoning is one of our 6 mental faculties as humans. But we forget about intuition, some of us. We live too much in the logical world and we just deal with facts all the time. Sometimes there's a step to take that is exponential. And we learn a lot about exponential growth while watching the COVID virus spread so quickly and so effectively. What if there was a step you could take today that doesn't necessarily make sense to our reasoning mind, but if you took it, the difference of taking that action could take you in a whole new direction, in a direction faster than you even thought possible towards what you would really love. What if? Intuition is the guidance system that helps us decide that, discern that, to tell what's happening. So let's listen, let's tune in, let's use this quiet time to sit with ourselves and listen, really listen. Not just the head chatter that's going on, but listen deep inside of ourselves. There is a small voice, and it is only as loud as our willingness to hear it, our willingness to listen. So the more time we spend listening, the better we're going to get at hearing it. And it will speak to you, and it will say something. It'll tell you, this isn't right, or this is great. Let's do more of this. It'll tell you, hey, take the umbrella when it looks like sunny sky. And then you wonder, well, maybe not. And the reasoning mind talks you out of it. And then it rains later in the afternoon. You go, gosh, I knew I should have taken the umbrella. So what is intuition and the voice telling you? It's always calm. It's never frantic. And it will speak the language that you and you alone know and will hear. But it is only as loud as your willingness to listen. It's speaking all the time. What are you going to do to listen more? Maybe it's quiet time. Maybe it's journaling time. Maybe it's meditation. For me, I spent the entire month of February just allowing, relaxing, releasing resistance, reminding myself that there's only one thing happening here. I'm a part of that. It's infinite intelligence. I don't have to know how it's all going to work out. There is something for me to do. And I spent a month of just what I call part of my deep self-care, which I'll talk about someday. But that was a concept that actually came up. Came up from me. It's like, oh, this is deep self-care. To listen to myself, to listen and not judge it. Just, oh, look at that. There's some anger. There's some frustration. There's some sadness and loneliness. I found some deep and profound loneliness. But a whole month of just listening more to myself and to the spirit speaking to me in the voice of intuition. And I already thought I was pretty intuitive in terms of making decisions sometimes that, sometimes they seem counterproductive, but in the moment, but you're like, you know what, there's something else here. There's some other intelligence system at work. So learning to rely on and listen to the still small voice is part of the trust process. What can you do to settle in more to that? And our last T for today is to take action in a specific way. Okay? I'm going to add this though. We're going to take action. You've spent time in this trust. To really trust the process, you have to also participate in the process. if I know that I'm part of the solution, that I'm part of the divine interactive fabric that is being woven by each and every one of us, and I'm really spending time listening to the still small voice speaking to me, if I ignore what that small voice is telling me, then I have stopped the process. The final step, and then probably one of the most critical steps, is to take action on what you hear. Take action on what you learn. Take action on the new ideas that are coming. There is something seeking to emerge through you, by means of you. The question is, will you hear it? Will you trust it? And will you take action on it so that it can become manifest in the world? We don't just think things, we create things by taking action. First in the mind, then in the real world. So, what can you do today? That's a great question. It goes back to the thing that we talked about last week. Do what you can with what you have right here, right now, right where you are. Trust that there's some intelligence at work in the thoughts that you're having, and make sure they're coming from an expansive place. If it's coming from fear and a contracted place, then maybe that's not the right step. But taking action in a way that moves you forward, it will always be aligned with your highest good, with what is seeking to emerge. Remembering that even in the problem, even in the difficulty, even in the challenge, even in the financial struggle that I was sharing with you and that so many people are dealing with, there is still a step that I could take, that you can take. Today, when we start looking for the opportunity and we're grateful for what's in front of us, we start to see the abundance. There has not been a month I have not been able to feed my family. There are so many generous people out there and places right now, even now, where you can get food if you really need food. There are so many places willing to help financially with the whole COVID situation. The government is stepping up in greater ways, greater and greater ways. I'm so impressed by many of our legislators who are trying very hard to do this idea of taking action, even when things look like it's falling, especially because things are falling apart and the world is shaking. We have to take action. We can't just let it happen all around, be a victim. We have to take steps. And we can always course correct. If there's a wrong move or a mistake we make, don't worry about it. You can always do something different. There will be consequences to deal with, but there will always be another action, another step to take. So take action. And I want to thank you for being here. Because the other thing to really think about is how this all impacts the people that are around you and who you're being. We want to take action so we can become even better. We have the opportunity to step up and rise up as a world, as individuals, to be able to create something new. So let's trust the process. Let's trust ourselves, and let's ask the highly calibrated hard questions if we have to, so that we can work through whatever's in front of us. I spent a month just sinking into trust. And when March happened and all this other stuff started happening, I have to say that I was much more prepared than many people around me. And as someone who practices what I preach, I really want to encourage you to take this and use it in your own life. It is not just something to know, it's something to do. It's something to practice on, off, but practice where the rubber hits the road. So I'm really, really grateful that you were able to be here with me. I'm actually grateful for the hard stuff in my life that has prepared me for this moment. I feel like I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to share. I have much more optimism, hope, and faith in the middle of all this pandemic than I think many people who didn't do this work ahead of time. And for much of my life, I have felt called to make great impact in other people's lives, to do something to change the world, quote unquote. Maybe you felt the same way. And if so, know that that is spirit talking to you. That is part of the still small voice talking to you. You are here to do something good. You are here to make a difference. And for me, I know that I feel like I have run a marathon. I have been training for a marathon. Well, it seemed like on the level of perception that everyone around me was just sprinting and seemed to have a pretty good go of it, pretty easy. Meanwhile, thing after thing after thing was happening in my life. And now I have to say I have learned this trust thing the hard way because that's what my evolution required. Trust that it's going to be okay. It may not be what you would love in the beginning, but it's going to be okay. And that even when something doesn't go right, it might actually be for my own good if I can find a way to use it. It can hurt me, or I can use it for my own good. It's really up to me. That you in the middle makes the difference. I have to put myself at the middle and rely on the unseen forces that I am a part of. But it doesn't happen if I take the you out. If you are out of it, we don't have trust, do we? It's interesting, right? So trust. Trust yourself. Trust the small, still voice. Trust the process. Trust humanity. We have a great amount of resilience. We are a species designed to endure. And, will we? The question is, let's design something more and better for whatever happens on the other side. So, what possible good is there here for me, or what good could come because of this? Trust that there is an answer. Trust that there is some good if you can find it. And even if you can't find it now, stay open to finding it. Stay committed to finding it. Stay in the knowing that there cannot be a problem without an answer. There cannot be a problem without a solution. There cannot be a question without an answer. You are part of this exquisite, marvelous system. And when we trust each other and trust ourselves, and we trust the process of life, we can only do one thing, and that is the thing right here in front of us now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, not in 5 minutes from now, not in the 5 minutes I just had, but right here, right now. So remember to breathe. And remember to trust. And to remember to ask those questions. And just as we do a brief recap here at the end, what does it mean to trust? We're telling yourself the truth. We are releasing resistance. We're relying on unseen universal forces, and we're putting you at the middle, you and my own experience. We're trusting and listening to the still small voice of intuition and spirit, and we're taking action on the steps that are ours to take and the things that we're hearing from spirit. What is your intuition telling you? Thank you for joining me. And as a reminder, I will be putting up the archive at my YouTube channel at bit.ly Life Mastery TV. And you can join me back here 10 a.m. around 10 a.m. on Tuesdays for Standing Firm When Your World is Shaking. And that's my Facebook page where you can interact with the comments. We've had some great interaction today, and I want to say thank you for showing up and thank you for being a part of this. Go and have a brilliant day wherever you are in your day and your week, and know that there really is only one thing happening, and that is infinite intelligence. And if you allow it, the content of your life is the curriculum for your evolution. I can't wait to see how you, how I, how others evolve. Have a great day, and remember, we are indeed standing firm when our world is shaking.